Why does it keep doing that? I don't even know what it look like right now. So then, let's say you have a cat, because everybody should have a cat, and that cat is dehydrated. You can offer kitty water, but they might not drink it, or certainly not drink it fast enough to really rehydrate them. What can you do? Or what if you have a cat with a health problem and it needs more water? This is too common in cats with kidney failure. Well, what do you do? Well, there are ways to give your cat water, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about subcutaneous fluids, which is something I am, for better or worse, really familiar with. But first, I'd like to, welcome you to Cat Chat with Penny. Yes, I'm Penny. I am the one and only. There's only one of me. You haven't seen me in a while. Christmas and the year transition and everything else sort of took me out of commission for a little while, but I'm back for my usual Wednesday thing. And, barring unforeseen future events, I should be here every Wednesday, as I have been for many, many months, giving you insight into cat things. I always like to start by asking people where they are. I'm sitting here in Western New York. It's snowing just a little bit. I'm not so far west. A lot of you heard about the Christmas storm in Buffalo. Yeah, we got a dusting here, even though Buffalo's only an hour and a half drive from where I am right now. So it's snowing just a little bit here. Pretty mild, not a big deal. But where are you? Are you watching this live? What little town are you in? I like to know my reach. If you're watching this live, you can use #live so that I know that you're watching it live. If you're watching it on replay, you can use #replay in the comments so that I know that you're watching on replay later on. All right, but for now, let's get to the subject at hand, and this will be probably short today. We'll see. I can also be very verbose. So what is subcutaneous fluid? And some people just say sub-Q, even though cutaneous starts with the C. Yeah, it's one of those things. So sub-Q fluids, what is this? So cats are really interesting, and that have, and you may be familiar with this, that they have the scruff. Their skin is not actually attached very tightly to the underlying muscle, so it moves around a lot. which is great. It's very convenient for us. That space between the skin and the muscle is called the subcutaneous space. So, or we'll just call it that anyway. So subcutaneous means under the skin. So there it is. It's a helpful thing for us that what we can do then is we can put things in that space, and then the body will absorb it quickly, or not quickly, but gradually. This is where we inject insulin. If we have diabetic cats, we lift up their skin and squirt the insulin into this subcutaneous space so that the insulin is slowly absorbed. But we can also put water in there, fill it out, and then that slowly gets absorbed. All right, this sounds a little scary. How are you going to put water in there? What it takes, and this is actually something that you can do at home. Now, so if you're squeamish about needles, that's a thing, but cats don't bleed or anything like that, just like getting any other injection, although it does use a much fatter needle than, say, the insulin needles. But you take your regular IV bag, which I don't have an example of right now, hook everything up, and then you use just a regular needle, pop it on the end of there, and you lift the cat's skin, put the needle in, making sure you don't put it right back out the other side. It's always a problem. And then you start the water flow. And it fills into that space, and then within a few hours, the water's all absorbed. And this is a good way to get your cat to take a good solid drink of water before or when they aren't able to drink or can't drink enough. With renal failure, with kidney failure, having extra water is very helpful because the water just flows in and flows out real fast with a cat in renal failure. And at some point, even this isn't enough, but typically you give them between 100 and 200. I don't think I've ever given more than 200 milliliters of your IV fluid, your water ringers, lactated ringers is what I have with me right now, but it's basically just water. This is not IV, okay? I have to make this clear. You're not actually injecting into the bloodstream. If you see blood, you've gone too far. But you just put it into the space and you just fill it up, and it's full. You can actually get air in there. It's all fine. This is just, again, if you scruff a cat, you're grabbing this loose fur. It is interesting when you've done this because you fill them up with fluid and it starts flowing around in this space, and sometimes it drips down their leg or something like that, and it looks really funny. So you can see it there. It's like a water balloon under your cat's skin. Kind of interesting, but again, it's not painful for the cat. It's probably just really weird. And then it's gone within a couple of minutes. Or not a couple of minutes, a couple of hours. So, and this is a process depending on the cat. You can do, once a week, twice a week. In the case of Sabrina, we have here right now, I try to do it every other day. The real challenge is that the cat has to stay still through this process. So they run off, they pull the needle out, and then you have a shower. It's usually pretty obvious if the needle's not in the cat. So, treats are a wonderful thing. The other challenge is to make sure you want the cat to be as comfortable as possible. So you have to figure out ways to keep the bag of saline warm. This time of year, my house is a little chilly. This is a 1830s farmhouse, so it basically breathes. And when it's 20 degrees outside, it's in the 60s in here. So you don't want to put cold water between their skin and their muscles. That's going to be really miserable. They make specialized heating things for IV bags. I usually just take the IV bag and put it in some hot water for a little while until it's warm. Don't want it to be hot because that's a whole other problem. But once it's warm, then you do that. Cats don't seem to mind that quite as much as cold water. It doesn't really hurt the animal unless it's like frigid. But room temperature is okay. But if you can warm it up a bit, cats like that. And depending on how well you've set up the flow, if you have a background in nursing, this is great because you already know how to set all this up, and it gets confusing as every bag works a little different. But you try to get the flow just right so that the cat only has to sit still for, my hope is to do it in under 5 minutes. There have been times when I haven't had the flow right, when it's taken substantially longer than that. I have to be mindful of whether or not Kitty is tolerating it. Sometimes they just don't like it and they just want to run off. And so you get what you can. With Sabrina, I mean, she knows when I pick her up, she's like, oh no, we are not doing this. So she gets growly. But subcutaneous fluids are something that you can do at home. And this is the kind of thing that you can do if you have a cat that's been missing for a while, or any other concerns. Subcutaneous fluids are basically safe to do. Now, not everybody just has a bag of saline sitting around their house, but this is what your vet's going to do too if you bring a cat in that's dehydrated. Now, IVs would be faster, but IVs are things that you need to have done, under more sterile conditions, under the supervision of a vet or vet tech. So definitely not something you're going to be doing at home unless you are a vet or a vet tech. But this isn't scary, so if your vet tells you that your cat is going to need subcutaneous fluids, just realize in the end, all of these things are more stressful for you than they are for the cat. Sometimes it requires you to hold the cat in a way that you don't really enjoy, but honestly, I mean, I see this with Sabrina. Every time I give her fluids, she feels much better. So if you love your animals, you figure out how to do this if it's something they need. And if you have problems with it or need to do it and you are looking for support, let me know, and I'll be glad to help you out in my very special way. One of these days, I'll even videotape me doing subcutaneous fluids with Sabrina so you can see what the process looks like. I hope you enjoyed what I had for you today. If you liked this, please like and share. I'm broadcasting live in 2 places in Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So wherever you're watching, you can share from there. If you're watching from the Cat Chat with Penny group, you can't share out of that group, but you can always go to the Mew Mew House, the Mew Mew House Facebook page, and share from there, because I'm also broadcasting there. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Take it easy, everyone.